After you have finished reading the text and you have finished formulating your theme based on all the steps in the previous video, then you are ready to start tracking your evidence. This is the tracking evidence part. So you've sort of tracked it a little bit as you went because, as it says down here, in the table below, you're going to type out quotes and paraphrases along with appropriate context from the text that supports the theme that you wrote, and the theme that you wound up with should be in this box right here. So the theme I came up with in my example for Harry Potter was more can be accomplished through teamwork than through working alone. Now take a look here. This sentence is a link. It's going to bookmark you back to another part in this doc. So it says, you should have tracked page numbers as you read of where occurrences of the big topic that inspired your theme happened and recorded them. So if I click on this, it's just going to bring me back up here, okay, showing you that this is where you are getting your evidence tracking from. So I ultimately decided on teamwork, and I had all these page numbers here of where I saw J.K. Rowling writing about the topic of teamwork. Get it? Because we're writing about theme. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and do a little bit of rereading. It's not going to be like rereading the whole book or anything. I'm going to go back to these individual page numbers and see if this is a good example that I can use during my academic discussion. So I would do some preparation. So let's say I went back and looked at the first few page numbers, and I didn't think those were the strongest examples until I got to 175. That's okay. How many different pieces of evidence do I need to have prepared for my academic discussion? Well, let's look at this table. How many spots are there for quotes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm looking for 5 good quotes or paraphrases from the text with page numbers that really demonstrate the theme that I've decided on. So when I went to page 175, I reread that little section and went, oh yeah, this is when Harry and Ron find Hermione in the bathroom with a troll. Okay, so that's the context part. So up here where it says evidence quotes or paraphrases / context, I'm going to give a little bit of context for the quote. If I had just dropped the quote, which is simply these words here, confuse it, well, that would confuse me, okay? That would confuse everybody. You have to have context, okay? So I am explaining here with context that when Harry and Ron find Hermione in the bathroom with a troll, Harry yells to Ron, confuse it, and then Harry finds a way to take the giant beast down while Ron does the distracting. Together they save Hermione. And I do put my page number, and I do that just like this, in parentheses, after whatever sentence contains my quote, okay, but before the end punctuation or period. So don't stress too much about that, but I would like you to practice citing page numbers in this style. I don't put a P or PG period or anything like that, or the word page number. I just put the number right there in parentheses. Okay, so now I have my evidence quotes, quote and context. Now what is this side for? This is where I'm just going to explain in my own words how this supports the theme. Okay, this is part of being prepared for our academic discussion, and this is going to allow me to really focus during the discussion on using academic language. Okay, it's not something I'm going to memorize, but writing it out, thinking through it, and then writing it out in advance is going to have me ready and prepared for the discussion. During the discussion, I'm not going to read off of this. I already will have thought it through and processed it, so it'll be much easier for me to speak about it fluidly with my classmates. Okay, so how does this support the theme? Well, let's reread the theme to make sure I'm really making a connection between this and this. The theme is more can be accomplished through teamwork than through alone. So here's what I might say here. I might say, had Harry or Ron, and the lag is creating some typos, sorry. Had Harry or Ron found the troll alone, and tried to defeat it, they probably would have failed. The troll is enormous, and so the plan of distracting it while another person attacks worked well. We'll say even Hermione, because I'm going to throw in some information about these characters. We know that Hermione is super smart, right? Even Hermione, I don't even need a comma there, who is extremely clever, could not have defeated the troll alone. Teamwork, as demonstrated here, is much more powerful than even the smartest wizard working alone. Okay, so it's just a couple sentences, 3 sentences I think is what I wound up with here, maybe 4. And I don't want you to get hung up on how many sentences should I write or anything like that. I just want you to very clearly and very thoroughly make the connection between what you have here, your quote or paraphrase, along with the context that goes with it, and the theme that you have up here. Okay, you're building a bridge between these two ideas, telling me how this supports this. So what would I do next? I would move on to my next set of page numbers that I have up here for teamwork. That was 175. So I would start looking at, I have the page range here. So I would go back and read through that and see if I could pull out a couple pieces of evidence from that page range. I would have to go back and see what scenario that was. So yes, you'll have to do a little bit of rereading and thinking through, but you've done a lot of the work already by tracking your page numbers up there, and that's why it is so important that you do that as you're reading, because that takes a lot of the work out of it later when you get to this step. So when you get to this step, continue this process until this table is completely full and you have at least good 5 strong pieces of evidence there.